Okay, guys, before we start, I want to thank Awakened One and Sherry for the buy me a coffees. Sorry, guys. I didn't see the buy me a coffee things. So thank you so much to anyone who buys me a coffee or donates in any way. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, guys. Okay, guys, I got another one for you. Far left reps Cori Bush and Ilhan Omar mix up Memorial Day with Veterans Day and delete tweets and embarrassment. Far left Democrat reps Cori Bush and Ilhan Omar made another embarrassing gaffe by appearing to mix up Memorial Day with Veterans Day. While the two congresswomen put out messages marking the national holiday, they appeared to confuse Memorial Day, a day to honour fallen American soldiers, with Veterans Day, a day to honour everyone who has served in the military. Omar posted on the X platform, "On Memorial Day, we honour the heroic men and women who served our country. We owe them more than our gratitude. They have more than earned access to quality mental health services, job opportunities, housing assistance, and the benefits they were promised." Bush also posted, "This Memorial Day and every day we honour our veterans in St. Louis. We must invest in universal healthcare, affordable housing, comprehensive mental health services, and educational and economic opportunities for our veterans as we work to build a world free of war and violence." After people pointed out their mistakes, the pair then deleted their posts and replaced them with more appropriate wording. Omar wrote, "On Memorial Day, let's say thank you to the brave men and women who selflessly sacrificed their lives in service to our country. Thank you to the families who have also sacrificed and have dedicated their time to ensuring their loved ones are remembered." Bush added, "This Memorial Day we honour those who served and lost their lives for our country, and we hold in our hearts the loved ones they've left behind. We must continue to push to protect our service members while working to build a world free of war and violence." Hang on. I thought they said the same thing for a minute then. Okay. Unfortunately for these leftists, the internet never forgets. Yeah, it probably never forgets half the gaffes I make too. That's fine. Okay, and we have another one. Macron's empire has fallen. He tries to contain chaos in French post-colonial territories, travels to mend fences with Germany on the eve of EU elections. Yep, the emperor has no clothes. Globalist poster boy and former Rothschild banker French President Emmanuel Macron loves to play emperor, but his empire looks like it's falling apart, according to a British magazine. Before he engaged in the state visit to Germany, the first by a French president since the year 2000, Macron visited some of his troubled territories in the Indic Ocean and South Pacific. Did they mean the Indian? Okay, Indic Ocean? I don't know. Okay, we feel like calling them colonies, but France calls them departments, parts of a republic that is indivisible. Yeah, right. It probably takes another post-colonial nation like Britain to understand how Macron indulges a fantasy that his remote colonies are really just part of France itself. The first Macron visit was racked with riots, Mayet, now flooded with African refugees hated by the locals. Few French people could find Mayotte on a map, and its economic contribution to the country is negative. Other than conceit, it's incomprehensible why France insists on keeping its tricolour flying here. Like much of La France, d'Outre-mer is a bottomless pit into which the French pour subsidies for benefits that seem minimal. After the usual colonial promises, Macron took the presidential plane to New Caledonia, where 8 people, including 2 gendarmes, have been killed in ethnic riots this month, and where there's a growing independence movement. With the territories said by some to be on the verge of civil war, the French have been forced to deploy soldiers to defend the port, airport and government buildings. Businesses have been destroyed by arson. Macron arrived on Thursday morning and declared he was there to open a dialogue. Macron condemned the absolutely unprecedented insurrection movement and said that the authorities have to hold on. There is no appeasement as long as there is violence. Australia and New Zealand are evacuating their nationals. A tour de horizon of France's global colonies, although we must not call them that, shows the indivisible republic melting down across the globe. French Polynesia, another French Pacific territory within the republic, is in continual political turmoil with demands for independence. In the Caribbean, Guadeloupe and Martinique are regularly seized by riots. In South America, French Guyana is a centre for drug smuggling and environmental disasters due to illegal mining. Macron and his predecessors have presided not only over the troubled French de jure empire, but also over the collapse of his de facto empire in Africa, where France's failed military intervention has seen former French colonies turn their back on the motherland. La France Afrique has, I don't know how to say that, sorry. Frique has become a crucible for militant Islam from Mali to Niger to the, whatever this says here. Okay, I'm going to just spend more time trying to pronounce things right than reading the actual article, so I'm going to let you guys do it yourselves. And I don't want to butcher it. Haiti, now under control of gangsters, is yet another failed former French colony with a legacy of brutal slavery reimposed by Napoleon III after the failed revolution of Toussaint Louverture. Okay. The end of what's left of the French Empire is happening before our eyes, so the Republic must define itself as a European nation. And for that, the ties with its former foe and now rival ally Germany have to be restored. Macron's 3-day trip meant to showcase and try to mend the strong ties between the European Union's traditional powerhouses. This is particularly urgent since we are mere days away from an all-important European Parliament elections, one in which right-wing parties in both countries are set for big gains. While Macron is a frequent visitor to Germany as Paris and Berlin try to coordinate their positions on EU and foreign policy, this is the first state visit with full pomp since Jacques Chirac came in 2000. Macron and his wife Bitchute are being hosted by Germany's largely ceremonial president Frank-Walter Steinmeier. It is proof of the depth of the friendship between France and Germany that Macron is visiting as Germany celebrates the 75th anniversary of its post-World War II constitution and before it marks the 35th anniversary in November of the fall of the Berlin Wall, Steinmeier said. Germans held a state banquet for Macron at Bellevue Palace on Berlin on Sunday evening before the two presidents travelled today to the eastern Sydney of Dresden. On Tuesday, there'll be a meeting between Macron, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, and ministers from both countries at a government guest house outside Berlin. Germany and France, the motor of European integration, have been plagued with differences in policy and emphasis between the two neighbours on multiple issues. That was evident earlier this year in different positions on whether Western countries should rule out sending ground troops to Ukraine. Both nations are strong backers of Kiev. Macron on Sunday said there has frequently been talk of problems in Franco-German relationships over the decades, but France and Germany together have accomplished extraordinary things. They've been at the heart of this Europe. He contrasted that with the country's history of war against each other until 1945. He renewed a warning that Europe could die if it fails to build its own robust defence as Russia's war in Ukraine rages on, or if it fails to undertake major trade and economic reforms to compete with China and the US. After all the fear-mongering and warmongering, it's very ironic that after Macron said that a fear of a changing world is feeding a rise of the far right in Europe, he will be awarded the Westphalia Prize, a private sector award, which recognises individuals or institutions for their effort towards sustained peace. Really? So backing Kiev is restoring peace, is it? Okay. I didn't know that. Did you? Yeah, arming Ukraine and having them fire at Russia is really a big effort towards sustained peace, I think. You can let me know what you think down below. It's a bit ridiculous if you ask me. I'll also be uploading onto Rumble if you'd like to join me over there for something that's very different than what's on here. Thanks, guys. The Libertarian Party nominee Oliver Chase is a radical leftist, says Gateway Pundit. Supports Black Lives Matter, drag queen story hour and big tech censorship. So, Chase Oliver, the Libertarian Party's nominee for president, is a woke leftist. Oliver, a 38-year-old openly gay former Democrat, was chosen as the party's nominee on Sunday evening after multiple rounds of voting. According to Politico, he's aligned with a more traditionalist faction of the Libertarian Party, the classical Liberal caucus, and defeated a more hardline Mises caucus candidate by less than 1% in the penultimate round of voting. However, it has since emerged that far from being a libertarian, he's an ultra-progressive who supports the Marxist terrorist group Black Lives Matter, drag queen story hours, open borders and big tech censorship. Evidence of Oliver's views circulated around the X platform, including one post in which he celebrated Donald Trump's banning from Twitter back in January 2021 and called for the invocation of the 25th Amendment to remove him from office. Ah, dear. What's this one?
So I'm here to talk about not just the injustice the cop city brings, but what militarization of police brings to us. I was in the streets in summer of 2020 when we were peacefully protesting the murder of George Floyd, the murder of Breonna Taylor and others, and it was the Atlanta police who decided to bring the tanks rolling down the street and who decided to call in the National Guard. It was y'all who corralled us. It was y'all who were pepper spraying and tear gassing us. It was the police who were pulling people out of their cars and arresting them for no reason other than the fact they were lost on the night of the protest. And so what does the police get in reward for that? $67 million of taxpayer money to fund your facility? That's ridiculous. I don't think it's right to be giving you $1 until you restore trust with the people. And the way you do that is pretty simple. You do that by by ending qualified immunity for the Atlanta City Police so that we can get our day in court when we're done wrong. You do that by requiring your officers to hold liability insurance. So when they do wrong, it doesn't come out of the taxpayer's pocket from other services. It comes out of the pockets of the police officers who have to pay for those insurance policies. If you want to hold police accountable, there's a lot of ways to do it.
No, there's too many ways that the police can just be sued for no reason whatsoever. Like I was saying the other day, here in Australia, you fall over in a shopping centre and you can sue the shopping centre. I mean, it's just, and people do, they're ridiculous, seriously.
But clear-cutting forests so that you can build this facility is a spit in the face of the people who have been out here speaking against it for months and months on end. Take a poll, read the room, listen to the people, and you...
Okay, this guy is a white guy who was in amongst the Black Lives Matter protests, I'm sure. I'm sure he wasn't doing anything wrong. You know, the mostly peaceful but fiery protests? Yeah, those ones. Libertarian Wokeness said Libertarian nominee Chase Oliver, 99% of drag queen story hours are fine for kids. If he had children, he says he'd bring them to one and leave them there. It's just like the Wiggles, he says.
Why do you think that the drag queens want to read to children?
Because I think that they are performance artists and they want to be able to have different levels of performance art. It's the same reason as why do the Wiggles sing to children? Because they want to have a marketplace to kids. They want to be able to.
The Wiggles is made for children. It's obviously family friendly material. Drag queens are not what you call family friendly kind of entertainment.
Okay, but a man in a dress is what drag is, right? Let's just be real. A man in a dress or a woman in a suit is what drag is. Mm-hmm. That is not inherently sexual. There is inherently sexual drag. And you're not going to convince me. I mean, I'm not going to defend otherwise. There absolutely is. But there's also the ability to perform as a man in a wig without being sexual. And that is what this is. And I guarantee you, if you act like I said, I went for myself because I was like, why are there people protesting this thing? I want to see what this drag queen story time is myself, and I want to see what it is. And nothing sexual was going on. And I think that is the truth for 99% of this. And I think
would you take your kids to a drag queen story hour? Or would you drop them off at a drag queen story hour
I don't think that's what happens. Most of the time, the parents are right there with the kids. But
I'm asking you, would you drop your kids off at a drag queen story hour and come back an hour later?
Would you drop your kids off at a movie? Yeah.
Oh my God. This is the head of the Libertarian Party at the moment. And there's him saying that he's glad Donald Trump was banned. Nick Sautor said the Libertarians just nominated Chase Oliver, who's publicly called for transing children, max and vax mandates, men and women's sports and open borders. And that's just what he's been calling for under Biden. What a joke. The guy's not getting anywhere close to 3%. A former sales and HR executive, Oliver was a relatively unknown figure until his unsuccessful run for the US Senate in Georgia in 2022, when he won just 2% of the vote. According to his website, Oliver describes him as a champion of the rights of the individual against the growing power of the state. He is the part of the state. Having began his political activism opposing the war in Iraq under George Bush, aligning with the Libertarian Party after an encounter at the Atlanta Pride Festival in 2010. There's only one candidate Libertarians should consider voting for, and it's Donald Trump. And I happen to agree. Anyway, guys, you can let me know what you think about this down below. Have a good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.